name is Joshua, and I'm one of the organizers of Bang Bang Con West 2019. We're so glad you're watching. I wanted to give you a brief heads up before you watch the recording of VJ Amel's amazing keynote, that in her discussion at the Arab Spring, the video contains some graphic images of police violence. I hope you find her story of discovering glitch as a form of resistance as powerful and exciting as I do. Enjoy.
Hi, day two, good morning. I'm really excited to be here, and I really love this conference model, and I want to thank the organizers who've been really tremendous and the community that has generated around this. Before I start, I'm just going to reintroduce myself in terms of a data body and a real body. That's why I sort of confuse people with all these different names. So I'm just going to throw out this idea about what a data body is and what a real body is. These are not necessarily, anyhow. So this is an idea that I learned from Ricardo Dominguez, who's a professor at UC San Diego. And he said, you know, the data body is your GPA. It's your social security number, it's your FICA score, credit score that allows you to get a house or not. It's your, I don't know, your bank history, your immigration papers. Your real body, well, here is mine. It started out like about this big, and it's gone through all kinds of contortion. Who knows how it's going to continue changing, right? And in fact, I can do all kinds of transformations with this real body. So that's why I present my name as Leila Shireen Saar. That's the name. That's my name. I go by, and VJ Amel is the moniker that I've created in a performative art practice over the last 10 years. And so feel free to tweet away, hashtag away, etc. So with that in mind, a little bit about my background. I do data-driven knowledge production, and so I just want to show like where I'm coming from. So I've done video production and web design, graphic design for like 20 years. It started out when not doing traditional filmmaking. It was rather activist work as live VJing and performing projection mapping in streets, outdoor and public places. And so I actually started building in Quartz and used Max MSP Jitter. Who knows what that is? Yay! I'm in the right crowd. And yeah, we started using processing and ActionScript, which used to be the language to build interactive platforms in Flash. And then meanwhile, I was building websites, and we did our first, first websites were built in MySQL using WordPress or Drupal. And then over time, that WordPress, and I'll tell you the stories, but the servers kept breaking, so I went and I created an application stack, and now I'm doing my web archival and analysis work on something called Eucalyptus, which is like a Mechanical Turk. And to be honest, I can't do this. This is now beyond my level of proficiency, so I'm in need of collaboration at all times. I've gone on to move through this different visual lens, using VDMX and Unity and gaming for gaming and data visualization. And now I'm experimenting with some VR technologies. So I want to sort of position what I do. I'm a professor at UCSB now, and so I think a lot about things. I make and think. My job is media theory and practice assistant professor, which means to think about how to not just theorize, but to make and theorize at the same time. Traditionally, sciences and humanities are the way we've figured out how to learn forever. In 1982, there was this study done in the UK by the Royal College of Art on the design and general education for the United Kingdom. And there was a whole bunch of things that came out of it, a lot of reports and a lot of publications. One that was most notable is Nigel Cross's Designerly Ways of Knowing, in which he said, all right, we've always had the sciences and the humanities, we need to add design to our curriculum and to the ways of knowing. And what came out of the study was sort of a definition of design as a conception of realization of new things, as a synthesis of form and content, and really a way to solve a process for solving problems. And while in the humanities, literacy is the tool that you need to master, and in the sciences, numeracy is the tool that you need to have aptitude in. In design, the language is of modeling, and it is learnable and teachable. And so the sum of Nigel Cross's researches could be put into this sort of really just little data visualization. And he makes the distinction that the phenomenon of studying the sciences is the natural world, humanities is the human experience. But in design, it's the artificial world. While in the sciences, we use controlled experiment and classification and analysis, in the arts and humanities, we use an analogy and metaphor to evaluate. But in design, we do pattern formation and synthesis. But the primary value for that is ingenuity and empathy, practicality, and designing something appropriate for a particular set of circumstances or people. While in the primary value in the arts and humanities is a commitment to justice, and in science, truth or accuracy. So this design thinking has grown, and it has, who's heard about the iterative design model? Okay, it sort of has come from this mode of thinking and this school of thought that the design thinking process starts out with empathy, and then you go to defining the problem, and then you ideate, and you go back, and you reiterate that, and eventually you prototype and test. Well, this iterative design model has really been used in the business schools, mostly, right? And in fact, what we understand to be the design process is often told through the lens of corporatizing and monetizing the products. And so there's this added part to design thinking, which is actually piloting and creating a business model around the thing that you created. And how do you think that might affect your first questions and your observations and the problems you're trying to solve if at the very end you're trying to fit it into a business model? And what if you are networks of young and revolutionaries across Egypt, Brazil, the United States, anywhere, everywhere, designing culture with social media? This is where my story starts. And today, as of today, there remains 22 days before Alaa Abdel Fattah is released from his 5-year sentence in Cairo's Tora prison after protesting after the Egyptian government passed a law criminalizing demonstrations. Alaa has been in Cairo's Tora prison since 2014. And here, this was printed in 2017. He wrote to the RightsCon, who keep every year since they've been having something in his honor. And I don't know if they invited him or he's in prison, right? So he writes to the RightsCon from prison last year or 2 years ago. He says, "This week I start my 4th year in prison. I might be released in October if my appeal is accepted, but then I might not. I might be released in March 2019 when I serve my full sentence." He goes on, I might not. But that's not really what worries me. We live in hugely reactionary times. My defeat was inevitable. What worries me is that by the time I manage to make it to this conference or another like it, I will simply be a total embarrassment to the organizers and attendees. You see, in my isolation, I can only build a fragmented picture of what the world outside looks like. And when it comes to tech, that picture is solely based on what filters through state-controlled media of the views and actions and governments and giant tech companies, not what people and communities are doing and saying. Now, you would not enjoy watching a Luddite ramble on about a terrifying dystopia in which labor rights are trampled up by startups that don't even plan to make a profit or pay taxes, but are somehow able to raise enough capital to flood markets, overwhelm regulators, influence policy, litigate perpetually, and still have enough left to spend on PR that spins the whole, all this as the glorious disruptive effect of the gig economy. A dystopia in which free debate and a shared public sphere rooted in commonly experienced, very decentralized reality is replaced with a news feed selected by an obscure algorithm based on one's circle of friends and choice of celebrities. On the 20th of March 2004, Ala Abdel Fattah and Manal Bahi Eddin Hassan, his partner, first went live with their blog Manal and Ala's Bitbucket in Cairo. They were exploring and experimenting with web publishing platforms that would facilitate the web presence of other groups and small initiatives in Arabic. Ala and Manal's Bitbucket was one of the earliest blogs to come out of Egypt and the Arab world. Its content was born of the public event. The 20th of March 2004 was the first anniversary of the massive global protests against the war on Iraq. The war on Iraq is the starting point in this uncanny historical recountenance, not 9/11. At the time, I was a fellow open source designer building Arabic and English websites for academic and activist communities in Washington, D.C. I met Ala and Manal in 2007 through the Arab network of designers and programmers on Drupal while building the beta version of the Archive software system right here at UC Santa Cruz when I was doing my MFA in Digital Arts and New Media. Shout out to Danum. Yeah. So, so he basically, we met on Drupal. He was leading, this is Alet's bio page, he was leading the Arabic language team of programmers. We were building WYSIWYGs from right to left. We're doing a lot of right to left, a character, UTF-8, Arabic language, character, typographical things. This was like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. He's been on here for 14 years. Let's just read his bio. From his work with children, he wrote this, from his work with children using Facebook to ridicule their teachers in the Arab digital expression camps, to his work with pro-democracy activists using blogs to mobilize thousands of Egyptians against the governments in the Kafaya movement, Ala just loves helping people use the ICTs, stick it to the man. Okay, I have so much admiration. He's been in tourist prison, as I said, for serving his 5-year sentence, and it's coming up in 22 days. He should be released. And there he is, and you can get a sense of how big this network has been. Okay. This informal network of Arab techies developed over the years as we forged new relationships and initiatives. And this included the Jordanian blog Hiber, the Nasawiya feminist collective in Lebanon that is no longer up, but there's some glitch there. You see the name is left somehow. My own Twitter archiving project using Archive. And at the time, we were getting together to build all of these tools in Arabic in open source to promote a free flow of information on the internet. Because when the internet boomed in the Middle East, governments started doing what they always did with media, which is try to control it at the state level. So you would go to certain websites and it just 404. And they'd have these really, in Qatar, every country was different. They had these cute little cartoons. This is not anything we want to see in our country. Oh, sorry, oops, I can't, very cute. Well, it wasn't so cute in Tunisia, where that's where they started really resisting the censorship of the internet. And Ammar 404 became an expression, a digital campaign that was used in Tunisia by their netizens, to use an old word. And it refers to the internet to refer to the internet and the surveillance apparatus that was used under the former ruler Ben Ali. Ammar is just a first name for a male, and 404 is derived from page not found. And here you see it was a very big movement in 2010. The Flickr was censored, YouTube was censored, they were making memes and jokes. Twitter was still active, but the minute Facebook went down, all hell broke loose. And so we had this huge campaign. And this is in May 2010. Here's a group of Arab women techies. You can see me in the middle with glasses and thinking I'm cool or something. And it says, Ammar Sayyib Salah. And this is the Arabic, Ammar is not found, page not found. And here we were after our own meeting thinking this is cute and light and having no sense of the direction that the politics of the time were moving. Authoritarianism, poverty, social and economic injustice, and state brutality fueled the Arab uprisings, which we conventionally think of as beginning in 2010 when the Tunisian street vendor Mohamed Bouazizi set himself on fire to protest the police's arbitrary seizure of his vegetable stand. It was in Tunisia that the call for the people demand the fall of the regime first enveloped streets and imaginations. It would not be long before the contagion of hope would spread to Egypt. Earlier that year, in the summer of 2010, the Egyptian police brutally beat an Alexandrian blogger, Khaled Said, to death. His brother photographed his mangled face at the morgue, and Khaled would inspire a page titled, "We are all Khaled Said," and his brutalized image would become the face of revolution. So in my talk today, I'm really introducing this idea of glitch as an error or failure and to show you how it serves as a point of entry for activists and artists to resist the system design by drawing on my current book project called Glitch Resistance, the Arab Uprising, Social Media, and the Virtual Body Politic. So glitch originated as a mechanical term for a sudden interruption, noise, error, or malfunction. It is a part of a different kind of language, a technical semiotics. Sorry for getting all highbrow here, but follow along, please. It expands the logic and language of algorithms in a networked social landscape by introducing the messiness and mistakes that render the technological infrastructure more visible. A handful of artists and scholarly works have already begun to introduce this idea of glitch into the lexicon in the field, like Rosa Mekmen, Assendorf, Peter Krapp, Mark Nunes. Yet while the glitch has been closely associated with technology, it can also illuminate several areas of human experience and understanding. It is both a thing that disrupts the flow or movement designed within a system and an errant action. For example, a glitch in computer software is a set of code that causes the software to malfunction. One can also say that hackers have glitched banking systems by making account information visible. Glitches are a lens for understanding the operational logic of the systems of power. Here is an example of how I want to show you how my process of trying to archive the internet in Arabic and work with the Arabic open source movement through the Arab uprisings. And my work through it was a series of glitches and failures. It began, this is the archive dashboard that I had built originally in 2010. And this is what was operating, these are the data visualizations that were operating when I was pulling in Twitter by hashtag and archiving it. I didn't have I was on a shared server, and when the revolution started, it exploded, went to a VPN or VPN server, it says VPS, I don't know. And then I went to a direct server, and eventually I went on to a cloud computing instance, and I was able to sustain the programming at that level. And here you see another sort of glitch. The last time I was in Tahrir, the last meeting I had with the Arab techies was July in 2011. And this is when, the revolution started in January. So by July, by the end of the year, the military and the Muslim Brotherhood gained power over the revolutionary and the radical left. And so you started seeing that shift. And so not only were there technological glitches, but there were these political glitches because of technology that we are able now to look at and understand. So I was in Tahrir Square where we were at a meeting, and we all decided, let's go to Tahrir because there's a demonstration. And I'm like, okay, sounds like a great idea. And you'll see it was a really hot day. And the water, and so we had met, we thought we were going to continue developing servers across the Arab world, thinking about Syria in particular. Here we are, now we're in Tahrir Square, and you see that all of a sudden they break out into singing the national anthem. And I was with those friends, so I think I gave my camera to a friend because I got all caught up in this nationalist fervor, and I needed to buy a flag. So I'm buying a flag. I turn around, I don't even know how much time I was buying a flag. And by the time I turned around, the whole scene had changed. And these guys were the revolutionary folks had left Tahrir, and the Muslim Brotherhood had entered the space and it was time to pray. And in Islam, it's really like night and day. And then I turned around. Okay. And it was time to pray, and the Muslim Brotherhood was there. So it was like literally over, like I was buying a flag, and I turned around, and all of a sudden I'm among these people. And if you know, in Islam, typically the men and women are to pray separately. So here I am, a Muslim woman with my hair uncovered, and I just, I just joined in. But it was a pretty striking moment. So that was my last time in Tahrir. There we go. And after that period, let's see how I do. Okay. After that period, we went to, I came back to the States, and I ended up using a lot of my footage. Things had changed by October 2011, or this is 2013. There had been a coup, and the revolutionaries actually were, most of them, in prison or had disappeared. And then by 2013, there was a military coup, and Abdel Fattah Sisi has taken over in a very authoritarian election, and he's now the president of the country. So here is live VJ performances that I started doing after having been in Tahrir. I started producing these glitch aesthetics, and I want to show you a couple pieces of it and talk about that. footage taken from balconies of people in the streets being dragged around by their hair. A lot of footage of, there was the girl in the blue bra incident where some girl was, her clothes were ripped off and she had a blue bra on underneath, and so that became how she was known. And here's the blue bra. And there's a guy who jumped up and in a nationalist fervor, got the Egyptian flag and went up to the Israeli embassy and, I don't know, started, doing this. Okay, I'm going to just stop here. This is a 15-minute live performance that I did at the Hemispheric Performance Conference in 2013. Here's another really interesting moment of failure. These are real political glitches, right? I'm leading up to the artistic glitches. But so I had all this data that I was aggregating and collecting, and I was a graduate student, and I was asked to do a sentiment analysis. Does anybody know what a sentiment analysis is? Okay, I don't have to go into it, but sentiment analysis on 140 or 140 characters is almost impossible, and you can think of why. So they made me do it on the potential presidential candidates in Egypt in 2012. And the red means a negative sentiment, the green is a positive sentiment, the size of the bubble reflects how many tweets were tweeted about these individuals. And I went to Cairo to show the results, and everyone started laughing when the slide came up, and I didn't understand why. Well, Murtada Mansour came out as completely positive. He was the laughing stock of Cairo at the time. And my Twitter analysis couldn't pick up sarcasm, right? When you say yes, when you say that's so bad, and you mean it's so good, and all kinds of different cultural innuendos that, because of the emotional register of social media, and particularly Twitter, there's something unique about that media platform. It enables you to have an emotion, to speak emotionally. I mean, look at our current president, right? It's acceptable to speak with a certain nuance on social media. So within this theoretical framework, so excusing the theory, but I think it's important, the release of videos taken at the massacre, I'm going to pick one massacre, which is in Maspero in Cairo 2011, for example, this can be understood as glitch resistance. So what happened is that Maspero massacre initially started as demonstrations on October 2011 by a group dominated by Egyptian Coptic Christians. In reaction to the demolition of a church in Upper Egypt claimed to be built without appropriate license. The peaceful protesters who intended to stage a sit-in in front of the Maspero television building were attacked by security forces and the army, resulting in many deaths and injuries. And so the video footage taken by activists and journalists on the ground shows the army running over protesters in military vehicles, in some cases mounting pavements outside the state media building, and then uploading and streaming them across YouTube and different social media platforms, and interrupting, glitching the state's media infrastructure and flow of information. Because, even though these gruesome videos were viral for a certain population, nevertheless, the Egyptian government seemed to be completely unaware that these videos were even out there. In a televised press conference, the Egyptian authorities claimed that the military was not to blame, instead that the army personnel were unarmed and conversely were attacked by the protesters, despite that the video shows otherwise. Here's just a little clip.
We found an APC running towards us really fast. In the beginning, it was like just one. So we thought it was just a stupid soldier driving it. And then we found another one joining it, and they were both going in zigzags, hitting people, running them over, and going back and forth.
They were unarmed. The army was attacked by the protesters. You know the story, right? And this video is going viral. These videos, not this video, there are many of them that are going viral on YouTube.
At one point, we hid behind the kind of
So that's
on-ramp to the bridge.
really an important reading. There were a bunch of media collectives. One is called Muassirin. They have an archive of a lot of this footage, and they've been able to archive it outside of Egypt. There's another great media collective called Kazibun, is the Arabic word for the liars. And it's very interesting because we have a very similar experience here in the United States about fake news and real news, and this is fake and that's true. And, you know, President Sisi has many times said that there's been, recently last month on 60 Minutes, claimed that there's no violence, or there's been no detention, there are no political prisoners in Egypt, which is kind of ironic. The confluence of accumulating injustice and the political possibility catalyzed the uprisings from Cairo to Libya, Syria, Yemen, Bahrain, and regimes fell and new ones emerged. And it was not long before the forces of counter-revolution would take hold, bringing in civil war, reconciliation of authoritarianism, military recalcitrance, and the imprisonment of activists and bloggers. I don't really know, was all of this a glitch, or is the present moment a glitch? I've really popular, this idea of trying to understand what happened in Tahrir Square and what does this resistance look like online is something that I'm left with. And the works, I'm going to show you this last bit. I'm going to show you the progression of my data visualizations from the same data set. And you'll see that, that I progressively ask questions around glitch, and if it does a violence to the surface of the image, it also might enable us to see more by questioning the source, revealing the material support of the digital ether, and suggesting how images are recomposed in circulation. So here you see, this is a network graph. I used Gephi. It's very abstract, but right? What you see here is a big, hairy, maybe you like the look, I don't know. The green, what this represents is 60,000 people or users who tweeted 500,000 tweets using the hashtag Syria over one month in the summer of July 2011, before the war, the international war on Syria. Okay? And what I was trying to do is see how much Arabic, and I was trying to do a language distinction. So the green is the Arabic tweets, and the blue are the English language tweets, and the red ones are French. So I was like, okay, this is pretty, but what the hell, and how do I make meaning? This is sort of what glitch does, really abstract aesthetics. So then I'm like, okay, because I'm all concerned about the real bodies and the data bodies, and so I try to make it into a game. I'm not a game designer. I totally have lots of respect for game designers, but here's my attempt of making it into a game in Unity, where it's this immersive space, and I don't make any physics. I go through the trees and stuff, but it's like a game of tweets. And then I'm going to show you where I'm at now. So let me just show you what this was like, this gamification of the 2D Gephi map. As you can see, I'm actually using the same data set. It's taking the 2D data visualization and making it into 3D, which is not really glitch technique. And I'm going to end on that. I don't know what to do with this. I'm not going to talk. So the level reflects the quantity of tweets, the distance between the actual, sorry, I'll wait till I'm done. I'll go through the feed. You know what I'm talking about, those who design communities. Okay, so, you know, what I did was I translated the nodes were the mountaintops, and the distance between the mountaintops were the edges, and that the edges, the nodes represent the actual users, the edges represent the tweets. This is sort of how data visualization traditionally is done when we do network visualization. But I was trying to give us a sense of being inside it, inside and immersed within this network sphere, as opposed to being this abstracted, very far perspective. So, you know, I have taken Archive offline for all kinds of political reasons. I want to show you another method of what I'm calling glitch resistance. This is a mosaic motif of using large quantities of tweets and videos that were tweeted
of this city
about the Freddie Gray incident. Okay, I can't talk and chew gum at the same time.
to the youth of this city. I will seek justice on your behalf. This is a moment. This is your moment. You're at the forefront of this cause. And as young people, our time is now.
There's so many of these stories and these incidences in this country, in other countries, and they are documented online, and we forget them afterwards. And so I think one method of glitch resistance is simply to, to think about reassembling these in new ways. So what you have here is the same methodology I used in building it in 2D, not videos, is a system of, it's a mosaic process using Mazika, which is a software, open source software system. And what I did was I had collected all of the people who had tweeted about this particular protest, and then I pulled images, either the images that they were tweeting, or in this case, these are their profile images because it's easier, which I don't like to do because I'm not trying to identify the users. I very much am trying not to do that. And that's been kind of part of the problem of how do you do analysis and how do you provide new insight into social media and how do you support the activists today without in the age of deep surveillance and privacy issues. So I don't have an answer for that. But anyhow, but I moved on to the video rendering. You take one image that's iconic, and then you make it up, remake it with a bunch of different images. And this is where I am now. Because the glitch technique is so abstract, I've done a series of the glitch resistance using processing and doing pixel sorting. People know what pixel sorting is? And these are techniques that have been developed over the last 10 years, starting processing 2. We're now in 5, right? Okay, so Casey Riaz and team have built the processing software system that really is that's a Java that works on a Java applet, so that technique is about 10 years old, and I've done the glitched images that I've been doing from photographs of the Arab uprisings are all done in processing. But I'm really bored with all of this, and so I'm trying to find something new. And I'm moving into two directions. One is, it's really mixed reality. It's not augmented. I don't want to have to put a headset on. So I'm really testing out Unreal. I'm testing out Houdini, and trying to figure out how to actually embody this archive of social media. But at the same time, I'm very concerned about the body. So I've got this way, I want users to be able to walk through it and actually literally, using a Kinect, have their bodies participate in this data visualization. So I'm going to show you these two short videos of where I am and how I want it, and then open it up for ideas about glitching the systems.
Just like a big bird. He said he never met a girl who make it euphoric. He said he never met a girl like me. And I don't think you're lying. I see it in your eyes. You wanna compromise. What you want me for? What you want me for? What you want me for? What you waiting for then? What you want me for? What you want me for? What you want me for? What you waiting for then?
So in this rendition, this is the opposite of glitch. It's very real. I got the tweets, like you can touch them and they're in the sky. They're also in this sort of dialogue box. The tweets have, like the mushrooms represent something, the deer represent something, so it's like there is a legend to go with it. This was a prototype. I mean, this is definitely not where I want to end. Partly I do this because, I want to learn these software, because you can't glitch until you've actually understood what it's made up of. You can't interrupt the system until you understand the system. So I want to understand virtual realities and mixed realities. I want to understand it really well so then I can go and think about how I could use it to subvert. One more video. This one's just a minute long. Here's just another little idea we came up with, but we never finished it, because you saw the 3D model of VJ Emma that we've created. Well, we wanted to set it up with Kinect so that you can stand and you can move it, but you have to do every single bone, and there's a lot of bones, there's a lot of movements. It's really hard. So here you can see I'm in there with some grad students. We got the little bear, we got the arm moving. And yeah, the sound doesn't really mean anything, but the idea is that it's now connected to your own Twitter. You can actually enter the space now, the archive space, and you can tweet. See, you're seeing haha, and you can actually, your tweets are there live, and you can go in there and participate with the idea of really mixing these bodies together. And that is supposed to be Tahrir Square, which, by the way, it's a circle, it's not a square, which is another conversation altogether. But we had used Google Earth to sort of map out what Tahrir Square looks like so that we're trying to recreate it so that we can go back in it again. I think I just go on and on. I'm very excited about this. And here's a different way of mapping out those same tweets and territories. I think. Thank you.